Yes, and I'll keep this brief. What I want you to do to further your self study, when you're watching or listening to anyone, especially I'm not being snobbish here, but especially someone who's an educated first language speaker of the target language you're trying to learn, in this case, English. Whether you're watching John McWhorter in an interview, giving a lecture, whether you're watching Netflix, maybe you're watching Suits. I watched that show about lawyers. Great to expand your knowledge of legal terminology, which is primarily Latin, like pro bono, eminent domain. All these legal terms. I didn't before I watched that show. I never really was really confident in my knowledge of those Latin legal terms. And there, God, there are hundreds, maybe thousands. You know, the lawyers know them because even maybe they don't speak Latin, maybe they don't speak any other languages, but they must know them for their job. Pro bono, eminent domain, actus reus, actus, not sure. I don't claim to be an expert on them, but there's a great show to watch to further expand your vocabulary in subject matter with which you're not familiar. You know, law. Not too many of us are really well versed in law language terminology. No. So anyway, what I'm saying is, when you're listening to anyone, colleagues, supervisors, generals, lieutenant generals, or lieutenant generals, lieutenant generals, I think one of the students was saying is the preferred in some contexts and situations with the Canadian military. That even gets you get lost in the weeds with that as well, lieutenant. It depends on which part of the military you're in. I did some research on it. Oh my God, the headaches, the horror. But anyway, here's the point, 2 minute mark. Listen to the programs on the CBC. Excellent radio station to be listening to in English. I'm not going into why. It is excellent in all aspects of language, vocabulary, grammar, fluency, everything, pronunciation. It's incredible. CBC, you should be listening to it regularly. Your Netflix programming. You're listening to the news. Even reading, like reading, you could incorporate what I'm suggesting in reading, but mostly primarily listen to people who are native speakers of English, especially if they're educated. Listen very carefully to them, silently in your mind, and listen to them how they use, well, it's me who is the best. And then kind of analyze. Don't say anything. Don't be a jackass and say, oh, wait a second. Is the verb to be, and it needs to be followed by a subject pronoun, and you gave an object pronoun. That's wrong. You're gonna have very few friends and a very long lonely life if you want to act that way with language. That's like language and linguistic and intellectual arrogance. No one needs that. You wouldn't do these things on a bus, correcting people, or somebody might actually punch you right in the head. That's a good way to start an argument because what you're doing is implying that the other person is uneducated and stupid. That's what you're implying. You're implying that they're uneducated and stupid. So be very careful. And I don't need to tell you adults this, but analyze the English that's spoken around you by your husband, by your wife, by your girlfriend, by your children. And listen very carefully to the way they use things like kind of tricky grammatical constructions like, well, it's a secret and I just want to keep it between you and I. And analyze that in your mind and say, sounds like Michael's ex mother in law, Janet. No, between's a preposition. You're not supposed to follow between with the subject pronoun I. You're supposed to follow the subject pronoun with, you're supposed to follow the preposition with an object pronoun me. Let's keep that secret between you and me. Okay? Just between you and me. That's standard English. Listen to people when they say, if, you know, well, if the manager were me, I wouldn't put up with the dissension amongst the ranks with the employees. No. Analyze it quietly in your mind and say, well, if the manager was me, no. Was the verb to be, even if it's in its past tense form, doesn't matter which tense it's in, which form it's in. That person should have said, quietly in your mind, that person should have said, if the manager was I, excuse me, if the manager were I, don't say was, that's street. See how easy it is. That's the way we speak on the street. That's how difficult it is to monitor your language to achieve standard, formal standard English. It's very difficult, even for native speakers, even for educated teachers. Listen to teachers too. They make mistakes with these things. No, he shouldn't have said that. He should have said, if the manager were I. Yeah. If the manager were I, he wouldn't put up with the dissension amongst the ranks with the employees. Yeah, because all this is not elevating you in terms of you're on another level compared with the rest of the peasants in the population, even native speakers of the language you're trying to learn. No, it's for language reinforcement, language learning, and general enhancement of your language abilities. Do it. Every time you hear English spoken, every time, analyze it, monitor it. Whoever is speaking it, it doesn't matter. Act like a TOP examiner. Act like your teacher, Michael, who's fanatically obsessed with these things, especially in terms of teaching these concepts, these challenging grammatical concepts to his students. Put yourself in that position and quietly analyze people's language. It's very interesting. What you'll find with challenging grammatical concepts like, it was he who stole the money, correct. Let's keep this between you and me, correct. I shouldn't say correct. Standard English, standard English. What you will find is, even with educated people, lawyers, doctors, professors, language teachers, if they're not on their guard and they're not on their game, all of these people will commit these grammatical glitches. And if you're monitoring and analyzing people who are speaking to you, or you're hearing it, whether it's on the radio or television or whatever, it doesn't matter. If you're always analyzing and monitoring and keeping in mind these concepts that I've been teaching you and that you've been learning and other teachers have taught you and you've incorporated into your self-study for many years, that is going to further reinforce the language concepts I've been teaching you for the past little while. And it's just basically going to generally enhance your language abilities, your language knowledge, your language usage, your language awareness. Merci beaucoup. Bonne nuit. Bonne nuit for Natalie. Bonne nuit for Christian and Martin. Thank you.